Hello, my name is Brian Benigni, and as the superintendent for the Berlin Public Schools, please let me extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our veterans as we celebrate Veterans Day this year. We extend to you our most sincere thanks for all that you have done for us and for our country. It is through your patriotic acts and your courageous efforts that we still remain the land of the free and the home of the brave. Veterans Day continues to be observed November 11th, regardless of what day of the week it falls on. The significance of the date 11/11 helps focus the attention and importance of the purpose of Veterans Day, a celebration to honor America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, willingness to serve, and sacrifice for the common good. Please know that we regret that we're not able to invite you into our schools this year, and as it would have been our 13th year of honoring our veterans with a live presentation. Given the current health precautions and restrictions, we opted to create a virtual video as a way to say thank you to each of you for all that you have done and sacrificed for this country. The staff and the students of the Berlin Public Schools have great respect and appreciation for our veterans and hope that you enjoy this video presentation as a small representation of our gratitude and appreciation. Thank you. I hope you enjoy.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare bells bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Patriotism is showing love and pride towards your country and the people who live in it. There are many ways of showing patriotism: by showing that you love, support, and respect the people and the country. By putting the country first and working together, it will help make it stronger. The more people work together to help the country, the more patriotic and together we become. My grandfather showed his love for his country by joining the U.S. Navy. He was a petty officer on a Navy supply ship. He traveled all over the country to deliver necessary and much-needed supplies like fuel, food, and to rearm battleships and submarines. He was in charge of a number of seamen and gave orders to them on how to best manage the ship. Both of my great-grandfathers were in the Army and fought on the battlefield to defend our great country. We honor our veterans to thank them for serving and for all their sacrifices they have made to make our country great and free. A person can show love towards your country through voting, supporting a veteran, serving on a jury, or flying our flag the correct way. You can also help clean up a natural park as a volunteer. A number of places have limited funds and are always many ways to help. There are a number of ways to help and show your patriotism. As a Girl Scout, I have personally helped put together boxes for troops overseas. We assembled boxes, wrapped them, and they were sent to various troops. As a Girl Scout, I have also helped clean up different parks and work in homeless shelters to assist those in need. As a Girl Scout, we've helped bring joy to kids in the hospital, making Jared boxes and warm blankets. This is helping the community as a whole and bring a unity within the people of the country. It brings joy even if it's for a moment. When we do kind things, it in turn makes me happy and glad to do them.
What does patriotism mean to me? Patriotism to me is the feeling of goosebumps I get when hearing the Star-Spangled Banner being blared over the speakers at a sporting event. It is the feeling of happiness that you get when you watch fireworks explode in the night sky on July 4th, celebrating America's freedom. I think about all the men and women of the armed forces who have lost their lives and those who continue to fight for the United States of America. I have not experienced a significant event that taught me the meaning of patriotism. However, there was one significant person whose life experiences and stories deliver the meaning in an overwhelming way. That person was my great-grandfather, Richard Schroeder, who was a World War II veteran of the United States Navy. One of his favorite things to do was tell the many stories about his experiences in the Navy, and one of my favorite things to do was hear them. He remembered every single detail, from the bouts of seasickness he had while out to sea, down to the food he would eat in mess hall. My great-grandfather spent months at a time on a naval ship in the middle of the ocean where no land was in sight. He spent some time at Pearl Harbor, Guam, and Japan. He had stories of hiding in bushes deep within the jungle as enemy soldiers ran by. He described the feeling of being homesick and one holiday after another that he did not get to spend at home with his family. I loved watching him throw his head back and laugh while telling me about the best friends he made along the way and how they kept in touch for the next 60 years. A few years ago, before he passed away, my family brought my great-grandfather to a ceremony for veterans. He was handed a small American flag, which he waved back and forth as they played the Navy anthem, Anchors Aweigh. One by one, people were shaking his hand, giving him a hug, and thanking him for his service. I watched the tears of pride flowed down his face, and my heart grew even prouder to be his great-granddaughter. Patriotism to me is not a definition found within a dictionary. The meaning of patriotism is my great-grandfather, Richard Schroeder.
What do you hope the future of veterans will look like?
I think that people should understand that military service is a very, very important thing, and they should always recognize those who take the time to serve as being somebody who's done something great for their country. They may not necessarily agree politically with what's going on, but the important thing is it helps to maintain the integrity of our nation, and veterans built it, and future veterans are going to maintain it.
It's hard to say what I think the future for veterans holds, because obviously there's less and less people that serve in the military. It was back, in World War II, you had hundreds of thousands of folks that served, and then in each successive engagement or war that the country's been involved in, you get less and less or fewer and fewer people that serve. And what happens is that more people have to carry the burden, meaning they have to redeploy and go back overseas. It's not like they can just do a one term or 2 terms. They're back at it 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7 times overseas. And so it's a tough burden.
How does it feel when you reminisce on your time in the military?
It feels very good. I recently established contact with some people that I served with in Vietnam 50 years ago, and we've been able to compare notes and things like that from 50 years ago, and that's been really, really fun.
I'm pleased and also proud of my time in service. I wound up most of my career being in a reserve status, so I was not active. And then as I got towards the tail end of my career, my unit got activated and we went overseas. So I went full cycle from a standpoint of being a weekend warrior, as they would talk about, to actually being boots on the ground and actually in a combat zone. So all of what we trained for and all of what we did over the years of service was instrumental in our performance overseas. And I think I have to say we were well trained and committed to what we were doing, so it worked out very well.
What do you remember about your first moments in the military? How did you feel?
I went into the Army in New Haven, and they put us on a bus and sent us to New York City, and we all thought we were going to Fort Dix, New Jersey. Well, in New York, they transferred us to a train, and next thing we know, we're in South Carolina. And you go to a place called the reception center, and at the reception center, you get hundreds of people spread off from all over, at that time, the East Coast. we're all gathered together. And, we were issued uniforms, and people got their first haircuts. And I remember I had my first breakfast in the Army was a meal called SOS, which stands for shit on a shingle, which is cream cheese beef on toast. And I'd never had that before. And I remember one of the guys getting his first haircut. Remember, this is the 60s, and there's a hippie generation out there too, and I wasn't part of it, but there were a lot of guys that were. One of the guys had a haircut. He looked like Jesus Christ, and we had a really good time razzing him when he got his haircut and shaved down like the rest of us. So that's one of the first things I remember.
I thought I perhaps made a mistake. Coming from the small town of Berlin, it's kind of like a cultural shock because invariably you're coming into a site that has a lot of folks that are pretty competitive, in good shape, and motivated to do something for themselves as well as for the country. So the pace quickens and the degree of competition gets accelerated for you. So it is kind of an eye-opener when you leave, kind of sleepy Berlin for, I went into the Army, so that was where I was, and it was up-tempo, competitive, and, certainly spirited. There's no question about it.
What are your favorite memories of you serving in the military?
Gosh. For the most part, I had a pretty good time. The wildest thing, I guess, I matured there. I went into the Army, I was 18 years old. I was commissioned as second lieutenant at the ripe old age of 19, back at a time when I couldn't legally drink, I couldn't legally vote, but I could lead men in combat. And my first enjoyable experience, really enjoyable, was I was stationed at Fort Dix, New Jersey for 2 years. And I went through most of us go through at some point in time in our life party years, and I went through my party years there. So I made some friends there that I still have today, and just had really good time there. I really enjoyed flight school when I went there because I learned to fly, and that was quite an experience, and again, an experience I'll never forget. So I guess that's some of my favorite things.
I think the folks that I served with gave me the most memorable opportunities as far as having to work with a good quality of people that were of the same mindset that we all had. We wanted to see the country do as best as we could overseas and leave a more positive impact. And I served in Iraq, so for the people of Iraq, it was important for us to make certain that they knew that Americans were, contrary to what they might have been told, we were fair-minded, worked hard, and fun-loving type people. So, and I think a lot of that got communicated to them.
How did you entertain yourself while you were away from home?
Well, part of my job was aircraft maintenance officer. So my job was 24/7. There was really not a lot of entertainment time. 7 days a week, there were no days off, and there were no bars to go to, or movies were pretty rare if you could do that. So you entertained yourself by interacting with others. Played some cards, and didn't drink much because there wasn't much available. So that's how pretty much we did it.
How do I entertain myself? I think the neatest thing we had is we had a CD or a cassette of The Sopranos. So we used those CDs and played those different episodes of The Sopranos, which was really quite a godsend because it was really neat to watch it. We didn't get a chance to watch it every night, but when we had downtime, we certainly watched The Sopranos.
What's a funny story you remember from your time in the service?
Well, when I was stationed at Fort Dix, I bought a motorcycle. And the job I had there was pretty easy. It was 5 days a week, and it was like 7 in the morning until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So the rest of my time was free. And took that motorcycle. I got to know some of the girls who worked at the base. And on a Sunday afternoon, I took them out to learn how to ride, and we took it out on the parade field. Took the motorcycle there because I wanted them to learn to ride in a place where if they fell, the ground was soft so they wouldn't really get hurt. So one of the girls was on a motorcycle, and she was riding all across the field, the big open field out there, towards one side and then back around this way. Well, there was an MP trying to catch her, and the MP was riding all the way around the field. She would go this way, and they'd try to go this way and head her off, and they kept trying to do that. Finally, they gave up and drove right across the field and stopped us there, so that was pretty funny.
A funny story, there was one time we were in a place called Balad, which was a major air base for coalition forces, and we were picking up supplies and getting ready to return to our base, which was close to the Iranian border. And there was a car bomb that went off outside the base, so they locked the base down and they cleaned up the remnants of the car bomb. And then we were next in queue to go out. I noticed as we were going out the gate that there was a fire truck from the base that happened to follow us, and I thought, or they must have thought that I was going to take them to the bomb site and provide security for them. And we were heading east to our base of operation, and the truck kept following. And it was about 15 minutes later, one of the guys in the truck said, this fire truck is still behind us. And I'm like, what's this guy doing? So we stopped, put up security. I got out, went over to the guy in the truck. I said, why are you guys heading east with us? We're going back to our home base. He said, oh, we thought you were taking us to the car bomb and the bomb site. And I said, no, we're heading back to our base of operations. So let me, because he didn't have any security whatsoever, and he's out in the open. I said, we'll take you and bring you back to Balad. So we were only like 15 minutes out. So we brought him back, and he kind of sheepishly just took off once we got him on the base. And it was no big issue. I wanted to make sure he got back safe. But that was kind of a funny story because the guy was following me, and we didn't understand why he was still trailing us,
What was the hardest part of coming home after being away?
When I came back from Vietnam, they flew us back into Seattle and dumped us off in Seattle with $200 and said, it's up to you to find your way home. I found an airplane, got on a flight, and the only seat I could get was first class. And shortly after I got back from there, I went to Fort Dix and got discharged from the service. And my uniform went back in the closet and didn't come out for more than 30 years. So that was the environment that we came back to at that time.
We only had a year duty overseas. So I went over in 2004, came back in 2005. You got to understand that tempo is really, your pace is really quick because you got to do a lot of things. And I spent a lot of time in Fallujah in 2004 where we were trying to get rid of the bad guys and, get ready for a nationwide election and help with the Iraqi armed forces, get them stood up so they could protect the people of Iraq. So we had a busy schedule. And, that was, kept us going at a high pace all the way through our tour. So by the time we got ready to leave in September of 2005, it was like coming off of a highway and you're going 60 miles an hour on the highway and you come down and now you're on these rural town roads where you're supposed to be going 35 miles an hour. So that took a little bit of adjusting to. But other than that, that was really the only thing I felt that was a change of pace, if you will.
How did your service and experience affect your life?
I think it helped a lot because I learned so much. I was a 19-year-old officer, and when I got out, I was 23. And from then on, I learned what leadership was. I don't think I was a real great leader in the service, but I think it made me into a leader for later on. My experiences did.
Well, I appreciated my time in the military, and I think, like anybody else, I think the military teaches you good time management, and you know, you start to better plan things, and you don't take things for granted. You know, there's time to relax and everything, but there's time when you have to be geared up, ready to do a job, and do it to the best of your abilities. So that means preparation and training, and all that has to get incorporated, you know, and that's pretty much what I found made us pretty successful, is, you know, having be able to learn to do that and operate that way, operate effectively every day.
How did your military experience influence your thinking about the world around you?
Prior to that, I didn't care about politics at all. Now I do to some extent. But I guess the biggest thing is that I learned respect for others and the importance of teamwork. You know, that's probably the biggest things.
Well, I think I was kind of taken aback in that sometimes you hear that people overseas don't really like the United States, and I know there's a lot of people that were in Iraq that did not like us, but there were quite a few that did, and we always tried to be as polite and understanding of their culture, and because they had, you know, they perceive the United States to be like Hollywood, where all these action things are going on all the time, and I think that was some of the misperception that the Iraqis had, and when they saw us on the ground, they kind of got a different look as to what we did and how we operated, and our different personalities and how we were working pretty much closely as a team all the time. And so I think they came away with a better understanding of the American culture and us as Americans. And so I think we had a small part to play in that was favorable.